الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله في نعمه ويكفي مزيدا اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد مفتاح لكل خير آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. The intention of marrying. This topic is very important, okay, because majority of us we either have the wrong intentions of getting married, or we're not really sure. We're just getting married because we're told to get married, or we're getting married because I'm madly in love with this person, and I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, and it's all about this person, this individual. And the connection of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ is misplaced. It's not there anymore. And the whole point of getting married is just that individual. We have to be able to understand what the intention should be, so that those who are listening, inshallah, can make these intentions. Okay, first and foremost is seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you just wanted to follow your nafs, if you just wanted to follow your desires, there will be no purpose of getting married. Okay, but marriage is a sacred act of worship. It's sacred. Okay, it's sacred means that in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal, it counts as worship. So if this action is not for the sake of Allah and it's for the sake of yourself, then what's the point of just getting married? You could have just gone and done everything that you wanted, where Allah's not mentioned and there's no connection to Allah. But this action is action which is sacred. So but there must be a presence of Allah within that circle, within that diameter. There must be a frame of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. Meaning, following the command of Allah Azza wa Jal, we're getting married. Okay, I love you, I love so and so, she loves me. But that love, there must be a connection between Allah and the Prophet ﷺ and the love that you have for that individual, so that that individual can get you getting closer to the Prophet ﷺ, understanding your deen better. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, "An-nikahu, marriage, sacred marriages, nisful iman, is half of your iman." Why? Because marriage prevents you from certain unlawful actions. Marriage, okay, marriage is supposed to, you're supposed to evolve through marriage. You're supposed to be a better person after getting married. Your spouse makes you a better person. Okay, to an extent that the scholars say that just within the nikah itself, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends rahmah, mercy. As soon as you say qabiltu, that you accept this person to be your wife the rest of your life. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends rahmah, mercy upon both couples. That's why you find that upon some people, as soon as they get married, even their personality changes. Married, they're so calm. They're not that same person anymore. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descending rahmah upon them for following His commands, for having the right intentions of getting married. Okay. The second, after following the Prophet ﷺ and following the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to have children. Okay. The second is to have children. The Prophet ﷺ said that we should marry so that we increase the Muslim Ummah. Okay. Now, obviously, you was once a child. Everybody listening was once a child, and their parents have had to upbring them. And the upbringing of a child, you can't put it to words. There is nothing you can resemble it to. It's one of those things you just have to experience. I can tell you, but it will mean nothing to you if you don't have a child. It will mean very little to you if you don't have a child. When you experience it, then you'll understand. Okay. The same thing when a mother gives birth to a child. I can tell you from mouth. Okay. But when you witness with your own eyes, you understand the full picture. You understand completely the difficulty that your mother actually went through, the difficulty that your mother went through to give birth to you. She can espouse, and then she goes to give birth, and you witness that tremendous moment, that amazing moment, that spectacular moment. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a child, it's unexplainable. You can't explain it. There's nothing you can resemble it to. So this is amongst the intentions that you should have, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you a child. Not just any child. You make intention that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a child that is the deen. This is the intentions that you come with. And we seek refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah should test us through our children in such a way that we should fall. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our children be the means to raise us, Ya Rab, to elevate us in rank. Okay? Another is seeking the blessings of dua from their child, and that their child intercedes for his parents if they die young. Okay? Another intention is that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes that child away from you, that Allah makes that child a form of intercession. And the narration of a beautiful hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that when Yawm al-Qiyamah comes, when everyone will be put to judgment and everybody will be placed in their places, that child will say, Ya Allah, my parents, I did not spend time with my parents in the dunya, Ya Rab. Ya Rabbi, I did not spend time with my parents. They were taken away from me, Ya Rab. I did not spend time with my parents in the dunya. Ya Allah, don't take them away from me in the akhirah as well. Ya Rabbi, I want my parents, bring them to me. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is in your behalf and say, Ya Rab, if I could not give them in the dunya, Ya Rabbi, at least give them to me now in the akhirah. And those children at that age, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them a special place in Jannah. And you can imagine those parents that follow after them, seeking protection from the shaitan. Okay, this is very important, especially in the western part of the world, especially in the summer, when alhamdulillah, some people live in Islamic parts of the world that have a Sharia based, the foundation of Islam is strong, where the definition of aura is understood, and the definition of aura is you can see that they cover themselves properly. But you have some places like in the West, in America, Australia, Canada, and so on, all parts of the world which have no concern for covering the aura or covering the body parts, that it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult. And the reality is that the true soldiers of Allah are those people who are in third world, who are in countries in the West, where it's very hard to lower your gaze, where it's very hard to act upon Islam. But yet through that difficulty, you still fight back, and you still lower your gaze, and you still abstain, and you protect yourself from committing sins and from displeasing Allah. These are the reasons these people face 10 times worse, 100 times worse. People in Muslim countries, when they want to sin, they have to sin undercover, then because they're scared of what people say, what people will think, because everyone is a Muslim and everyone knows what's halal and haram. So in this country and in the West, okay, everything is out there. There is no such thing as aib. There's no sense of shyness. So everything becomes a norm. And to be able to connect with Allah in ubudiyah, in worship, and the Prophet ﷺ, the actions of the Prophet ﷺ, and restraining yourself from sinning, it's one of the most amazing things, subhanAllah. It's the best way to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jalla. And marriage is the best way. Okay? هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they are like a garment for you, meaning that they cover you. They cover you from sinning, and you are a cover for you. You're both shielding each other from sinning. The shahawat, the desires, all that can be put to use in the right way. All that can be put to use in the right way by marrying somebody lawfully, authentically. And then after marrying them, being able to gaze upon your wife is a reward. Being able to smile and being able to say kind words to your wife is a reward. This is how the Prophet ﷺ is. Okay. And again, number 5, seeking strength in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their spouse, with their partner. Okay. Now, obviously, once you leave the threshold of being single, now that you have a partner, you can pray with them, you can read Quran with them, you can do tasbih with them, you can go to lessons, you can attend these lessons with them. It's supposed to evolve you. It's supposed to make you into a better person, better individual. It's supposed to get you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's supposed to help you understand the deen better, help you to understand the world better, how everything runs. Your eyes is supposed to open to the reality of how things are and how you are supposed to be. That's what marriage is supposed to do to you. Okay, and that's why it's very important that you find the right spouse. Inshallah, we'll go into that in the next couple of lessons. Inshallah, of you, I'll probably ask you the same question: how should we go about finding the right spouse? And inshallah, we'll go through that in the next couple of lessons. For now, going back to the topic at hand, seeking for oneself to strive in order to bring in provision into the family and being patient in doing it. Okay, so now that you are married, we know that you have responsibilities. Male and female both have responsibilities. Okay, being able to act are very crucial, as we'll mention inshallah through the end of the slides. Okay, how these roles play in marriage and the importance of these roles, inshallah, we'll mention them. But being able to provide for your spouse, subhanallah, the reward in it is amazing. Being able to provide for your children, the reward in it, and the same way to be able to clean after your children, look after your children is unimaginable. That to an extent that the Prophet ﷺ says that ridallah, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with the parents. In another narration, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with the husband. So just by pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, automatically. Okay? And in another narration, that your husband can intercede for you. Your husband can intercede for you. Yawm al-Qiyamah and say, Ya Rabbi, my wife was good to me in this world. Ya Rabbi, enter her into Jannah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter you into Jannah with your wife. And in a narration that the Prophet ﷺ, the wives in this dunya, they are more beautiful than the Hur al-Ain by 70,000 times. Subhanallah. 70,000 times. Okay? You can't imagine the beauty of the Hur al-Ain because they don't exist in this world. In this world, Hur al-Ain do not exist. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us an example and said they are more beautiful than the women of this world by this much, this much, this much portion of it. The reality of the beauty of the whole ayn, it's unimaginable, unfathomable. We cannot imagine it. Okay, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us example to which the closeness we can understand to, and that's only 10% to the reality of their beauty. But imagine the beauty of the wives. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they should bring our wives with us into Jannah, Ya Rabbal Alameen, inshallah. Okay, and number 7, see, very important, that sometimes we tend to get lost within our intentions. That, did I make the right intention? Am I missing anything out from my intentions? You should make intention, Ya Rabbi, I've made intention, the same intentions that the pious have made, the same intentions that those that you love have made, Ya Rabbi. I've made intentions, whatever they may be, Ya Rabbi. Even if I don't know the intentions as them, just by trying to make the same intentions as them, you're already rewarded with their same intentions. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if those intentions are sincere, if you are mukhlis, sincere in those intentions, and tatasadduq ma'Allah, and if you're truthful with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with these intentions, Allah will make these intentions into reality. Okay? And the last and most, seeking what Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sought in marriage to bring people together. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sought in marriage mahabba, love for one another. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sought in it that the family should be a guidance and help for others, a qudwa, an example for others to follow, an example for others to follow. These are the intentions. These intentions are very important. These intentions are the beginning. They're the miftah. They're the openings. I've mentioned already that if your intentions are sincere and you are mukhlis and you're truthful to these intentions that you've made, and you're truthful to Allah within these intentions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make these intentions into reality, Ya Rabb. And regardless of whether these actions and these intentions you've made, whether these actions actually portray and they happen in real life, the intentions on its own is reward, Ya Rabbi. So we should make these intentions. There are many more, but due to lack of time, inshallah, we'll continue to the next part of the lesson. Benefits of getting married. Okay, benefits of getting married. Now, there are a lot of benefits of getting married. Able to control your shahwat, your desires. Okay, being able to control. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the human body in a form. We study chemistry. Chemicals run within your system when you see the opposite gender. Okay, these chemicals that run within your system. At the same time, shaitan is there, your nafs is there, you're fighting. And for Allah, then it's just you, your nafs and shaitan. And then you become a slave to your own nafs, where your nafs will command you. And you become a slave because you can't help but do those actions. You can't help but follow your nafs and follow your desires and become a slave to your own nafs. You can't help it. But that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to be. Okay, and we'll mention inshallah as we go along, following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "An-nikah, okay, sacred marriage is from my sunnah. فَمَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي," and the person, okay, who dislikes it, فَمَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي, the person who dislikes this sunnah of mine, فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي, he's not from me. Okay, it's not that everybody has to marry, because if you look into the history, there are great scholars, phenomenal scholars who've left a footprint and they never married. Amongst them is Imam Nawawi. Okay, Imam Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi, he has compiled books after books. Okay, amongst them is the famous Riyadh al-Salihin. Amongst them is the famous Arba'een al-Nawawi. Imam Nawawi never married. He never married. He spent his whole life in the books. He spent his whole life bringing deen to us so that we didn't have to. He spent his whole life so that we didn't have to. And now today we can marry because of the sacrifices that he made. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed him with karamat, gifts. Amongst them is that during those centuries, electricity didn't exist. So they would use a candle, or we call it thermos in our language. Okay, but they would use a flannel, I think it's called. Okay, where there's a little bit of gas in there, and you put it in, and it's like a candle. Anyway, that went out, and it was in the dark, and he was trying to write. He was writing, teaching, he was writing books, okay, about the deen. And now it's too dark. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made his hand light up. Okay, like you've probably heard in the story of Nabila Musa alayhi salam. Ukhruj bayda'a linadhirin. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Nabila Musa's hand, okay, white, blue. It made Nabila Musa's hand illuminate, light up like the moon. Okay, the same thing happened to Imam Nawawi. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gifted him in such a way. Okay, so lowering our gaze, that once our desires and all of them have gone in the right direction, they've gone in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that our desires to good use. we put our sight to good use. We gazed upon our wives, we gazed upon our husbands, we gazed upon our spouse, and we've let go of all of our shahwats, right where it's required, right where it's lawful. Not only is it lawful, but it's also rewarding. Okay? As soon as we've done that, what else have we seek the pleasure of? The pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by following His commandment, by attaching every act of worship to Him, Allah Azza wa Jal. Or else it wouldn't be an act of worship. It wouldn't be an act of worship. Staying away from major sins, okay? Amongst them is staying away from major sins, zina, adultery, and fornication. And so we seek refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from such calamities. And we seek refuge and we seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from our shortcomings, Ya Rabbi. Increasing the ummah of our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Increasing the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay? Now, obviously, we live in a different century, in a different time now. At the time of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that was necessary. Through the hard work of the Prophet ﷺ, his companions, those that followed them, the tabi'in, the tabi'in, the scholars of these times even, Islam has reached all over the world, okay? And especially now in the West, some scholars say it's best for you to have less children than to have more children. Because in the society that we live in and the community that we live in right now, okay, the fitna is everywhere. The trials and tribulations are everywhere, subhanAllah. An adult is struggling, imagine a child. An adult can barely stay afloat, is drowning in their own sins. Can you imagine the effect it would have on a child? How can an adult who's in that state condition bring a child up and help that child to become better than he is or she is? You can imagine the difficulties that these individuals face. So increasing the ummah, that's always going to be something good. But again, I would say be careful. Be careful because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a tribulation for you. The more children that you have, if these children go astray, you'll be held accountable. كلكم مسؤول عن رعيتكم. Okay, you're all responsible of your herd. That's how the Prophet ﷺ faced it. That كلكم راع, all of you are like shepherds. وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيتكم. You're all responsible over your herd. So if you have a lot of children and we seek refuge from Allah and they do not take the path of Islam and they do not raise your name up in rank, instead they bring you down. Instead of them bringing you closer, they become a form of a trial against you, Yawm al-Qiyamah. That your child became this and this. Where was you? What did you do? How did you? All this will be put towards you. And your child will say, Ya Allah, my parents did not give me my haqq. They did not teach me my deen. My parents did not, and all this. And they will say, Ya Rabbi, take that haqq that I deserve. Take it from them, Ya Rabbi. I want my haqq. Okay? From there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take away all your good deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take away all that which you've earned, all that which you've worked hard for. Imagine the sadaqah, all that actions that you've done, for it all to be taken away from you because of negligence of not you being able to raise your children up correctly. And inshallah, sometime in the future we'll have a lesson in raising children, inshallah. But last and foremost, seeking a child that will bring good, which comes into the subject that I just mentioned. Bring good and beneficial to his parents in this world. Okay? كما ربياني صغيرا, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, that the children should have some form of love and respect, but that love and respect will come depending on the upbringing, depending on the parents, and depending on how they raise their children. So marrying is not just for the sake of marrying. You have to marry, and you have to be careful when you marry that you can raise children, or else those children will be hujjah alayk. Now, inshallah, we're going to the conditions of marriage. This is very important. Very important that we understand this, because most of us marry and our parents marry, and it's a delicate subject. If you're not a parent, it's very hard for you to understand. And one day when you're a parent, you'll understand that you've raised the child all your life. You've raised the child all your life. You spent your wealth, your health, your energy, your effort, everything into that child. Okay? And all you want to see is that child to have the best upbringing, the best this world has to give. The last thing you want is for that child to stay single all their lives. Or the last thing you want is that child to have a difficult life in their life. Is the conditions of marriage, the pillars of marriage are four. Number one, huwa wajib, that which is compulsory. When is it compulsory for one to get married? It's compulsory for one to get married if one is in a case where majority of the people in UK and America and the West are, where they have a girlfriend or they have a boyfriend, or where they're in a relationship with somebody unlawfully, haram, they're in a relationship, okay, and they're scared of committing a sin. They're scared of committing fornication, adultery, zina. They're scared of this. They have no control. Their nafs is loose, okay, and all their nafs desires is the temptation of that individual, okay. and all they want to taste is the sweetness of those actions without really understanding or without being able to grasp onto the difficulties. Okay. Okay, we have a question. Inshallah, we'll go to the questions at the end of the class. Now, when a person is in a position where they are sinning and they know that if they continue this path, they will reach a stage where they commit zina, and zina is among the greatest of sins. We seek refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah forgive us for our shortcomings, and that in this world Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees past our sins. If the person is to be in this condition, that they should seek to get married. They should seek to what? Get married. Number two, it's unlawful, it's haram. It's haram. Is it possible for somebody to get married and for it to be haram? Yes, it can be haram for somebody to get married. It doesn't matter what their age, they could be 50, 40, doesn't matter. It's haram. They are Muslim, pay attention. Certain individual that they cannot perform what is obligated of them. If a person cannot perform what is obligated of them, it is haram for them to get married. Why? Because they have responsibility over the shoulder of another individual. And if that other individual, you bear the burden of not being able to provide for them or not being able to commit to your part properly, then you are doing them injustice. You're doing them dhulm. Okay? You're doing them wrong. That's what it means. That if you're incapable of doing what's obligated of you, you should not marry. It's a delicate subject because there are those who have children, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our children. There are those who have children, and they know that their children are incapable of handling the responsibilities of marriage, but they want to become grandparents. The parents themselves want to become grandparents. They want to see that child marry, and they want to see their grandchildren. That's every parent's dream, to have grandchildren to look upon. Okay, it's a delicate subject. It's not really even though knowing that they could be ruining another individual's life. Okay, causing difficulty in another person's life. Okay, this is haraj. This is difficult. It's haram. You cannot force this kind of difficulty upon people. Okay, by getting them married to somebody who cannot, and obviously they do not say that my child cannot do this and that. They hide all that information. It's the most difficult position to be in, and sadly, it's some of the position that people all over the world are in, all over the world. Okay, so I ask parents, ittaqullah, fear Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, and if your child is not capable of providing for their spouse, and if they're not capable of being there for their wife and children, that you should teach them, and when they're capable, then get them married off. Okay, the third is sunnah. The third is sunnah, and who is this? One who wants to marry and is mentally and physically capable and can afford the mahar. All right, inshallah, we'll have a topic on the mahar on its own. There is a question based on the mahar that has come up, and we only have 5 minutes left, but I will continue, inshallah, and I will try to get as far as the slides as I can. Okay, now the third is the sunnah, and as mentioned already in the hadith, okay, that the Prophet ﷺ said that a nikah min sunnati, a marriage is from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and he who's capable of marrying should marry and follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, then when does it become makruh? When does it become makruh? It becomes makruh when one doesn't want to marry. They don't want to marry, okay, and cannot afford the mahar. It's not that they don't want to marry because they can't afford it, because they don't feel they're ready. No, they don't want to marry because they don't want to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, they don't want to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, that can also lead to haram. But makruh is one who can marry. They can marry, but they choose not to marry. They can marry, okay, and they can afford the mahar. Okay, these are the conditions you have to look at. They can marry, they can afford the mahar, but they choose not to marry. That is makruh. Okay, that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, "He who is displeased with my sunnah, okay, is not my followed. So he's not followed the path of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, another narration by Anas radiallahu anhu, he says, "Ja'a thalathat rahat." 3 people came إلى بيوت أزواج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, into the houses of the wives of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. يسألون عن عبادة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. They're asking about, the inquiring about the worship that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم does. فلما أخبروه, and when they were told about the actions of worship of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, كأنهم تقالوا, okay, they considered their own acts of worship. There is a lot of morals to this hadith, so I'll conclude with this hadith, inshallah. وقالوا أين نحن من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وقد غفر له ما تقدم من النبي وما تأخر. And they said they found their actions of worship so significant, and they said, where do we stand? Where do we stand in the eyes of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم? Okay, when the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, all of his sins have been forgiven, his past and previous sins have all been forgiven. So our actions ever mean anything, Okay, but then uh, uh, when the Prophet ﷺ heard this, okay, فَقَالَ أَنْتُمُ الَّذِينَ قُلْتُمْ كَذَا وَكَذَا. The Prophet ﷺ said, are you not the people who said this and this and this? And then they said yes. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Amma wallahi, oh, the Prophet ﷺ says, I swear by Allah, inni la akhshakumullah, verily I fear Allah more than you. Wa atqakum, and I am more God fearing than you are. Okay, wa atqakum lahu, like I am more God fearing and I'm more closer to Allah than you are. But lakini asumu after. But what did they say before that? They said that, okay, one of them said that I will fast. From now on, I will fast and I will never ever ever break my fast. One said, Amana, fa usalli layla abada. He said, for me, I will pray the whole of the night. Okay, abada. The other one said, I will continue to fast. What is he trying to do? They're trying to catch up to the acts of worship that the Prophet ﷺ does. Okay, wala after, and I will never break my fast. And the last one said, wa ana a'tazil nisa. He said, the last one said, I will never marry. Fala atazawaj. Okay, he said, I will never. Fala atazawaj abadan. He said, I will never ever marry. And the Prophet ﷺ, after hearing all this, the Prophet ﷺ said, you will say this, this, and that. But verily, I am closer to Allah than you, and I am more good fearing than you. But asumu after. The Prophet ﷺ said, I fast and I break my fast also. Okay, wa usalli wa I pray for salah at night time. I pray, okay, and I lie down as well. I take a break from praying as well. I'm not constantly praying. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Wa atazawwaju nisa," and I also marry. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ said that I also marry. فَمَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. So the Prophet ﷺ says that, and so whosoever turns away from my sunnah, then does not belong to me. Is not from my people, from the nation, or from the people of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those people, Ya Rabbi, who understand the hikmah, the wisdom behind marriage, who makes us amongst those people, Ya Rabbi, who marry within the greatest of spouses. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our spouse we'll answer one question inshallah, but we'll cover this topic anyway. We'll cover this topic anyway in due time. Somebody asked, please let me know, can I have a very tiny mahar, or does it have to be big? MashaAllah, that's a very beautiful question. There is no limit to a mahar. There is no insignificant, there is no little, and there is no a lot. Okay, you can ask for a little. The mahar, you can ask for a little. We're not going to the conditions and whatnot, as that's a lesson that will come up on its own, inshallah. Okay, in due time, very soon, most likely, probably the next lesson. Okay, we'll cover the topic of mahar. But I hope you enjoyed the class. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our fast. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within this month that Allah gives us all the khair this month has to give. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.